announcement was brought to you by the Ad Council.
The following program is being brought to you on the Voice America Business Channel. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericabusiness.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Welcome to CIO Talk Radio with your host, Sanjo Gall. All comments, views, and opinions expressed on this show are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers. Here's Sanjo Gall.
Good morning and welcome to CIO Talk Radio. To learn more about the show, please visit www.ciotalkradio.com. Today's topic is, dare a CIO show sensitivity in tough times? Our guests for today's show are Larry Bonafante. He's a CIO with the United States Tennis Association. Good morning, Larry.
Good morning. How are you?
Very good, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. Now, we also have Chad Kirkpatrick, who's the state CIO and the director of GITA with the state of Arizona. Good morning, Chad.
Good morning, Sanjo.
How are you, sir?
I am fantastic.
Very good. So you're in the mountain or Pacific? How big a pot of coffee do you have?
It's early in the morning, but I'm an early riser, so I'm in my prime right now.
Great. We'll look forward to having a great conversation for both of you, and especially this topic. You know, when we talk IT, we are in our comfort zone, but then when we're talking about sensitivity and or the softer side of a human being, usually that's not a conversation people are able to have. And it's tough for them to look at that softer side and see if this is seen as a vulnerability. Now, with respect to that, when we are talking to people over a water cooler in a conference or even, wherever we are in our workplace, we sometimes are looking at this as an interpretation of being emotionally vulnerable if you're showing sensitivity. And so, as an IT leader, with all eyes are on us, and especially in these tough times, what type of behavior should we be wearing, or what kind of demeanor we should be wearing so that we are not looked at as emotionally vulnerable, or maybe we should look at the premise itself. Is that true? That if you are sensitive, that means you're emotionally vulnerable? Sure. Larry.
Well, I honestly don't agree with that. I think that sensitivity requires a certain strength and confidence in a person to be able to be open and sensitive to other human beings. So to me, it makes you come across and feel responsive as a caring human being. So that, to me, is a sign of strength and confidence in your abilities and in your personality, not a sign of vulnerability at all.
So, Chad, what do you think with respect to this? What have you come across? Have you seen water cooler conversations that this person is too lovey-dovey or touchy-feely type of guy, and I don't know if he's going to ever get any job done?
I think whenever you're managing, you'll always have that piece, that human component. I think the key is, as a leader, to listen and understand to what your employees are saying. But that doesn't mean that you have to lower your standards or shift the job responsibilities of the person just because they feel like they want to be shifted. Certainly, kind of getting to what you're saying about that level of confidence, Larry, is, I think as leaders, we need to be clear on the expectations we set. Maintain that positive attitude and strong work ethic, especially in these times as we're laying people off. But again, understand that there is that human component.
Now, I've seen cases where somebody even told that if I am too considerate or if I'm too open in terms of my conversations with them, then even my expectations that I set, and if those expectations are not met, the penalty may not be as severe because the person is just not cut out for penalizing people to that extent.
Well, I think in any leadership position, you usually have to manage through both carrot and stick. But I think that the majority of the time, if you've got good people, you can motivate them in constructive and positive ways. And just because you're sensitive and open and understanding does not mean you have any lower expectation or you're any less driven. I don't think those things are mutually exclusive at all. So to Chad's point, I think you could certainly be driven and expect and drive for outcomes and results, while at the same time at least being receptive to understanding people's challenges and working with them to address those challenges.
Now, when you are trying to deal with a lot of tasks on your plate and you're under the gun to deliver, or else your own job may be at stake, how a person can be as compassionate, or that's where the strength lies in a person being a leader? Chad?
Well, in my opinion, I think you have to be a filter. I mean, all of us feel pressure from above to get things accomplished, and my job is to make sure that my people have the opportunity to succeed, and that I'm taking that pressure off of their shoulders and I'm taking it on my own, so that instead of them feeling the pressure, they could concentrate all of their energies on getting the job done instead of worrying about those things. So I think you have to be a filter for your people so that they don't feel those kinds of things.
Yeah, I think you need to understand what their goals are as as an employee, as part of the organization. What motivates them? There's certainly a big component of psychology whenever you're managing a group of people. What their skill sets are and what their capacity is based on their existing workload. And from that, if they are concerned about this or that, I mean, are they the appropriate person for that project? Should they be moved to another project? They might have a certain weakness. I know in IT, you have people that are strong developers but very weak on the business requirements or documentation. Maybe there's someone we can kind of shift some of these responsibilities around. But I think the biggest and most important thing we can do is whenever we start people on these projects, in addition to all of that, make sure we have very clear expectations on what the end goal is. And again, getting to that psychology part, we can either, we need to understand, is this the type of person that we can check in at the end of the week just to kind of see where they are, making sure they're on the path, or do they need more task-level management? And, you just need to kind of manage to the person.
No, with small teams, it looks that it would still be possible with the style that you mentioned, Chad. When the team is mighty big and there's a chain of command and a hierarchy there,
mm-hmm.
The true knowledge of the softer side or the emotional intelligence and or sensitivity levels of each team member and even your managers is not known to the top person. And frankly, you are at the top because you have shown that strength, that sensitivity, and other traits. For people who are 2 or 3 levels down, you don't know them. For you to be able to help make that decision, and your manager may not be at that level either. So how do you manage this?
Well, and that's where it comes to surrounding yourself with good people, and I think that's the difference between junior management and senior management. Typically, person who excels at those hard skills, the technical skills, they can be a strong and a senior individual contributor. They can be a mid-level manager. But you as a leader need to identify who your strong managers are. Again, every one of your managers is going to have different ways they approach their people. But again, when you set those expectations, when you have those weekly one-on-one conversations, I think you're getting a feel for how your managers' teams are progressing and them being able to accomplish their goals. I think one of the other things we also do, at least I do with my team, is I definitely have sort of an all-hands meeting where everyone gets in a room and we talk. I also, at some point during the year, like to meet with with every person that reports to me. And of course, I don't have thousands of people reporting to me, but I have a large enough team where I can meet with everyone individually and get feedback on how they're feeling about their job and how their job is progressing.
So would you say this is coming down to the type of communication? Of course, you have to hire the best people, but then even if you hire the best set of people, in different situations they may behave differently, and you could not have found all that out in an interview. I don't think there's a manager out there that would agree with that comment. How somebody interviews and how they perform in the job, that can be 2 very different things. I think we all find that out very quickly, unfortunately. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think communication is really one of the keys to success because, someone can give you, can tell you one thing or tell you what you want to hear, but again, you have to be listening to really what they're saying. I mean, and being honest on what that person is achieving. So when it is a task-driven culture versus people-driven culture, is that something that IT leadership develops or drives, being a Pied Piper, or is it something which is the very culture that is established by an organization, and then you just happen to get into it, and then what you deliver or how successful you are is a product of what you bring to the table, plus, of course, what the culture of the organization had?
Well, I don't think those things are mutually exclusive. I think you certainly can be results-driven and task-driven and still have a culture of communicating with people and supporting people. To Chad's point, I think it's important to touch base with people formally several times throughout the course of the year, but informally on an ongoing basis. And it's also important to know the strengths of your managers and directors, so that if those people aren't very strong in the interpersonal skills or in the softer part of things, make sure that you're a resource to their people to kind of bridge those gaps, so that collectively as a team, everyone has a touch point with someone in your organization who they feel cares about them as a human being and cares about their best interests. So I don't think those things are mutually exclusive. I think you could be task-driven and results-driven while still having a culture that is a collegial environment.
Yeah, I think Larry's spot on right there. We look at it as you have a mission, you have a goal. I mean, everybody wants to be part of something that is bigger than themselves, right? You want to be working towards something grand in life. There's some meaning there. The tasks are really just the steps in the process. How you get from point A to point B. I do think, though, when it comes to that difference between the task, did you accomplish your goal that we set for this Friday? How you allow people to do that, how you interact people, that's the human component. I mean, is this the type of person that you can say, this piece of code needs to be written by Friday, and then you assume or you give them that freedom and that level of independence to go do it. And for me, and I'm going to speak for myself here, that to me is a very motivating factor. I mean, that's what inspires me, is someone has that trust and confidence that I'm given a job, I'm allowed to go out and do that. And I think a lot of people do like that. On the other hand, there are the folks that, they need that constant feedback that, you check in on them. Hey, how are things? How's your project going? How are you doing on the task? Do you have the resources you need? So you do have that sort of give and take as you're going along that project. And you just kind of need to know the person. What level of interaction does this person need to drive towards that task?
Now let's take a deep dive on the task side of it. Suppose there's a task which is being done by a person a certain way, and then if you were to look at how you are measured yourself as how to make the whole IT operation effective and efficient. So when you drill down to each task level, you would want to see what is the best way of getting this task done. Would this person be given the whole lock, stock, and barrel type of task, or should that be split across multiple, across multiple people to make sure who can do that job, that task component well, and accordingly, deliver the end result, which is cheaper, faster, and better?
Well, I think it depends on the nature of the task and the nature of the people you have involved. But one thing I would strongly suggest is that you need to empower people to get things done in a way that they're comfortable doing it. So to me, my focus with people is not how to get the job done. My focus with them is creating and articulating a vision of what needs to get accomplished and the parameters of success and what success looks like. And once I've done that, making sure they've got the support and resources to get it done. But how they do it, it's at their discretion. I'm not going to micromanage my people or tell them how to do their jobs. I'm going to hire quality people and give them the resources they need to be successful and get the heck out of their way and let them do it.
Yeah, I think when you're dealing out projects and tasks, you need to look at both the hard and soft skills, right? I mean, does this person have the technical skills to actually do the job? Is this a job that's for one person or multiple people? But when you're giving it out, does the person have those characteristics or those human traits to do the jobs themselves? I mean, what's their level of creativity? What's their level of problem solving? What's their level of taking initiative and being able to work independently? Does that task require all that, right?
So let's take a quick break, listeners. We'll be right back after these messages and discuss about how a person, may it be an IT leader or a mid-management person and or anyone who is leading in any capacity within the IT organization or even outside, get a feedback about their sensitivity levels. How are they getting input in terms of how well are they doing on that front? Because while you're trying to get feedback on the results of a task that was given and anything else, any other type of dashboarding, but you don't have usually a ready-made feedback mechanism to find out how sensitive you are you at the right level of sensitivity or not? So let's talk more about this, see how we can get that feedback mechanism in place. Please stay tuned.
Up-to-date business and financial news. Call now and get the financial information you need. 866-472-5790. 866-472-5790.
The experts are here.
Voice America Business Network.
Looking for flexible ways to scale your IT efforts? Then visit www.avol.com today. Avol helps companies find the global IT talent they need to align their IT and business objectives. Whether it's hiring top IT leadership talent or building a reliable technology team, Avol delivers. To find out how Avol can help your company, visit www.avol.com or call 1-800-947-2832. Avol, delivering global IT talent. That's www.avol, A-V-V-A-L, avol.com. Visit today.
Now, Mrs. Johnson, before we close on your mortgage loan, I want to make sure you remember Mike.
Hi. You can trust me. I'm African American, just like you.
So, here's the low monthly payments and interest rates we promised, and here's where they triple.
The rest of this stuff is just here to make sure that we get your house when you can't pay us back.
What a lovely house.
Predatory lenders are never this easy to spot. Call us at 866-222-FAIR and protect yourself with the facts. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Fair Housing Alliance and the Ad Council.
There are two fundamentals required for business success today. The first is a robust strategy, one that's in sync with the marketplace and has a focus on delivering value. The second business fundamental is talent. The single biggest factor in the sustained health of a company is having the right people in the right roles, doing the right things. Join Michael Couch, the president of Michael Couch & Associates, each week as he explores elements of these two fundamentals on the Voice of Business Growth. Mondays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific, on the Voice America Business Channel.
When it comes to business, you'll find the experts here. Voice America Business Network.
You are listening to CIO Talk Radio. To learn more about the show, please visit www.ciotalkradio.com. If you have a question or comment, call toll-free 1-866-472-5790. Now back to the show. Here's Sanjog Gall.
Welcome back. So we are talking about a feedback mechanism. So while IT leaders are supposed to make a lot of difference in the way IT organization is run and how the business runs, in effect, what kind of feedback mechanism do you have in place so that while you get to know how did an IT project do, but then what's the feedback about how did you do as an individual? Are you sensitive? Are you the right type of leader? Are you insulating them from problems? What is the type of feedback that should be in place if it's not there already? Larry.
Well, I think there's two kinds of feedback mechanisms, formal and informal. I think with formal, many organizations, ourselves included, have a 360 review where you're getting feedback from your people, from your peers, from your customers, from your executive management, et cetera, that gives you cues on how you're doing in various aspects. But I think even more importantly are the informal feedback cues, and I think as you engage with people, you can tell by their reactions, by the cues that they give you, how what you're doing is resonating with them, and you need to be open to that, be sensitive to that, and pick up on those cues and be able to explore those things and have a dialogue with them about how you could better support their efforts.
Okay.
And the only thing I would add to that is it all comes down to a foundation of trust, because if people do trust that they can give honest feedback, then they will give it. If there's that fear there that anything they say can and will be used against them come annual review time, then you're either going to get no feedback or everyone's quiet. It's either all positive feedback. If you're getting all positive feedback, you better look at that a second time. Or, really you're just, there's just going to be no response from your team. They'll just kind of sit there and nod their head. So it just comes down to building trust and feeling that you have an open, communicative and collaborative environment.
And what kind of things that you think would undermine and totally trash your effort? Because you might be, as the greatest leader out there, trying to build a good culture where everybody's open, but then there are folks who are indulging in counterproductive activity, which in turn, takes away the thunder that you are building there with your abilities. And how do you identify and how do you prevent that from happening? Because at the end of the day, the result matters.
Well, I think the easiest thing that any leader can do, and the easiest thing in terms of what you have control over, is the things you say and how you behave. I mean, certainly, even if you're making little jokes like, well, I'm the boss, so I expect you to say good things about me, ha ha, like that's a joke. Your employees take that seriously. And, at some sort of subconscious level, they're going to know that, if they criticize you or they try and give you constructive feedback or they try and share their feelings and emotions with you, that you might not take it seriously and you might hold it against them. So you as a leader have to be very careful about even making what you think is an innocent joke. I think when it gets to dealing with bad eggs in the organization, every organization is going to have them, no matter what. And kind of going along some of the things that Larry said earlier about getting to know who your people are. You need to identify them. You need to know the difference between someone who is, shall we say, sucking up to you, but saying bad things about you behind your back, and they need to be dealt with very quickly. I know certainly, walking in the situation I've had here, we've had those. We've had to deal with that. Or I should say in prior organizations, where I've had to turn around an organization, we've had to deal with that pretty quickly. And, the first response is always, can I win this person over? And sometimes you can, but a lot of times you got to realize that no matter what you do, there's just negativity out there for whatever reason. And it could have nothing to do with you. It could be purely personal reasons, or it could just be their outlook on life. And, unfortunately, you just got to make changes. And if that person can change and be a positive contributor, whether it's for shifting their job duties or making them feel that their opinion is valued and that they're included in the organization, great. If not, then it's time to reach an agreement and they need to be moved on.
I definitely agree with what Chad just shared. I would also suggest, for me, there's a couple of things I think are very important. One is to say what you mean and to mean what you say, so that you make sure that you're forthright and transparent in dealing with people, so that they don't have to guess what your agenda is, and they understand where you're coming from, and you're being honest and forthright with them. And also, they've got to see you walking the talk. All the mantra in the world doesn't mean anything if your actions aren't congruent with the kind of messaging that you're putting out there. So you got to really be consistent that your actions are congruent with what you're saying and the culture you're trying to develop. And if you have people in your organization who are not exhibiting those types of behaviors, to try to work with them to get them on board. But if you can't get them on board because they're just not wired to play the game that way, then to graciously get them out of the organization and into other opportunities where they could be successful. But everybody's got to play the game by the kinds of rules you're setting, because if they don't buy into the culture, if they don't buy into the way you're trying to work things, you're going to struggle along the way.
So the reality is that there are a lot of IT leaders who are the very reason why a culture of non-performance exists and or other downfalls are there with respect to how IT is looked at by the rest of the business. And frankly, I would love for this discussion to be heard by many of those folks and try to follow suit, but I'm sure these type of discussions have also happened in other forums, and they may have listened to it. So what is that is preventing them from being able to get over their shortcomings?
I would suggest that some people aren't suited to be leaders, and some people have a skewed view of what leadership is. A lot of people view leadership as a privilege. To me, it's a responsibility. We're not here to be served. We're here to serve people. We're here to make sure that we support our people and get the obstacles out of their way and give them the opportunity to be successful. A lot of people look at leadership as something to aspire to because they feel they're on the gravy train, quite frankly. So I think it depends on what motivates you to lead and what kind of skills and mindset you bring to the table as a leader.
Yeah, I think as a leader, what it comes down to is A, people hire A people, and B, people hire C people. And I think the sign of the great leader is someone who can surround himself, with people who are subject matter experts. You don't need to be the know-it-all. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. And frankly, when you do act that way, you do tend to turn people off, and in a way it demotivates them. So I think as a leader, if you do have certain weaknesses, you need to be honest with yourself, recognize that, and then hire around that to supplement it. And really, leadership, it's coming down to setting the vision, setting the clear expectations, hiring the right people, and then giving them the freedom to do their job. Because if they feel, or at least what I found out is if they feel that they're making an impact and, they're being recognized for their efforts publicly and privately, that they will go out of their way to, in effect, accomplish the job, which, makes you look good. I mean, that's the art of management, is getting other people to do work, motivating them and inspiring them.
Now, we've also seen examples where many people have reached those levels of IT leadership, but they themselves are not confident and they're still trying to figure out what they want to do when they grow up. What do we have to tell to such people? Get out of this, and then maybe go and sell whatever? I
think you tell the person that they're a true leader, because the minute you feel that you are doing a fantastic job and you start coasting the minute you quit performing as a leader, and it starts filtering down through the rest of your organization. Anyone who is nervous that they're not doing a good job, assuming that they have control over their fear, that will motivate themselves to continue to push themselves to the next level. So I may have a concern that I'm not knowledgeable on a specific subject or knowledgeable enough to make an informed decision. I'm going to go learn about it. I, of course, worried about it, when I talk with my staff, when I talk with my peers, when I talk with my stakeholders, what impression am I giving them? But that motivates me to do a better job. And, if you don't have a certain level of fear in whatever it is you're doing, whether it's a specific technical task or a public speaking task or whatever, if you just have a confidence that you're going to do a good job no matter what, chances are you'll be lucky to do a mediocre job. You need to have that something to motivate you to keep pushing yourself forward.
I think when you find an individual like that, you have to look at aptitude and attitude. If they've got the right attitude and they want to aspire to be a good leader and they want to gain those skills, that you could work with them to help them, improve their aptitude. But if they don't have the right attitude, all the aptitude in the world is not going to help them. So if they're coming at it and they're motivated to improve, it's worth your while to work with them to try to gain those skills.
So let's connect the dots here. So if a person is comfortable with the role and always aspires to be better, always break their own records like an Olympic swimmer, do you think that person automatically has the sensitivity, and the people who are struggling, they're still, they've got too much already happening with them internally? It would be obvious that they would not have the time or the motivation to be sensitive to the rest of the world because they're struggling themselves.
Well, I think results are obviously critical in the business world, especially today's business world. But I think you have to see how you get the results. I've worked with people who have taken the hill, but they've killed all the villagers in the process. So I think that's not success. What you have to look at is not just are people accomplishing their objectives, but what's the process on how they're accomplishing their objectives? Are they leaving people intact? Are they working constructively with people? Will people want to work with them the next time there's a project, et cetera? So I think just looking at the results is short-sighted. You have to see the process for how they got those results to make sure they've got the skills for long-term success.
Yeah, and again, I don't think that they're mutually exclusive to say that you're trying to improve your skills, but by doing so, you're letting your people skills suffer. I mean, you can have very strong people skills, not very good management skills, or not very good technical skills, or whatever the case may be. But I think you can continue to try and improve both.
So now let's maybe take a quick break, and we'll be right back after these messages and see how is the environment changing, especially in these tough times when everybody is looking at the IT leader to watch every penny, keep the lights on, actually cut the budgets to half or even more. For many IT leaders, we've seen the CapEx gone altogether. Then you have to meet the same customer levels even better. You have to go even above that, customer service levels that have to go even above what they were because they want to retain the customers to keep the revenue flowing. And there are many other things that they have to deal with. Now, if a person is being expected to do all that much, and if you are trying to make all that happen, can you truly be spending the time and trying to do things which are more people-oriented, or would you rather, for some time where the task-oriented hat, get the results because business is going to suffer or you don't want to take chances? So please stay tuned. We'll be right back and discuss.
Whether the market's up or down, or if you're looking to improve your portfolio, our experts are ready to talk to you. Call now toll-free, 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Voice America Business Network.
Do you need directions to solid financial future? If so, the Money Answers Show with Jordan Goodman will provide you with a roadmap to making smart money decisions in every area of your personal finances. Join Jordan every Monday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern for the Money Answers Show on the Voice America Business Channel. Learn how and where to get the best deals on mortgages, cars, and insurance. Find out the best ways to save for college and retirement. Get out of debt, improve your credit rating, and save on your taxes. The Money Answers Show with Jordan Goodman will provide you with great tips on investment opportunities equities and real estate, stocks, annuities, and other investment vehicles. That's the Money Answer Show with Jordan Goodman on the Voice America Business Channel every Monday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Adding fractions is nothing.
For real?
Look, these are denominators. You multiply this one so that it's the same as that, then you add them up.
Man, that's easy.
Charles Bennett dreamed of returning to the old neighborhood as a teacher, but without money for college, only half of his dream came true. He's back in the old neighborhood.
Well, enough math. I gotta deliver these sandwiches.
Please support the United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. A message from the UNCF and the Ad Council.
Looking for flexible ways to scale your IT efforts? Then visit www.avol.com today. Avol helps companies find the global IT talent they need to align their IT and business objectives. Whether it's hiring top IT leadership talent or building a reliable technology team, Avol delivers. To find out how Avol can help your company, visit www.avol.com or call 1-800-947-2832. Avol, delivering global IT talent. That's www.avol, avol.com. Visit today.
From the boardroom to you, Voice America Business Network.
You are listening to CIO Talk Radio. To learn more about the show, please visit www.ciotalkradio.com. If you have a question or comment, call toll-free 1-866-472-5790. Now back to the show. Here's Sanjo Gal.
Welcome back. So yes, we are trying to do the best as an IT leader, and life was relatively good. Now we have these tough times that we are dealing with where, every eye is on us because we were one of the biggest spenders, if you will, in an organization when it comes to, CapEx, etc. So with that being said, and with so many tasks on our plate, don't we have to just get on the job and have everybody who you tell as a leader of the family or head of the family that, this is the time to buckle up and don't look at any special attention or any special considerations. We all have to deliver together and kind of create that type of culture, even if it is temporary?
I would say just the opposite. I would say that when things are the most challenging and people are under the most duress, that's when you have to be the most sensitive to what they're feeling, the most supportive of their efforts, and that's when your leadership skills are the most critical. So to just say, well, listen, suck it up, let's go. People have feelings, they have emotions, they make decisions based upon emotions. Being there and supporting them through the most difficult times, I think, is a sign of great leadership. I think poor leaders are absent by their presence during the most stressful times.
Well, we look at this as really an opportunity. I mean, we can certainly take the budget problems that all the states are having and kind of give in to that fear that, layoffs are coming and the end is near, so to speak. Or, we use it as an opportunity to say, hey, look, let's look at, we have here's the reality. We got to be honest on the reality. But let's look at what our processes are, and are we doing things the right way? And what that does is it gives them a sense of purpose. It gives them a sense of mission, because the worst thing we can do right now is to say, well, we got nothing to do. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens, because, that wait builds doubt, which leads to fear. And if you can put them on track, give them a sense of, hey, I am going to be accomplishing something. They do need me for these projects. And more importantly, I can be part of a solution for the states. It sort of turns around that negative. I mean, you're still going to have that negative there. You're still going to have that fear there. But at least you're creating a positive energy where each individual is saying, hey, I'm making a difference. I'm contributing to something big that's going to provide solutions for the crisis that we're in.
Now, when the times are tough and we are sensitive and also we are good leaders, why do we end up giving that easy in terms of letting our people go? Because we see IT has lost a lot of jobs across the board. So if we are truly fighting because we have handpicked most of these people who are working with us as a crew, right? In terms of as a good leader, we have surrounded ourselves with the best people. Mm-hmm. Why are we so quick with our knives? And instead of re-engineering our IT, we restructure in a heartbeat.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily the case across the board, first of all, so I think that's an overgeneralization, and if I can respectfully disagree with you. But I also suggest that as business leaders, our responsibility is to do what's in the fiduciary best interest of the organization. Now, sometimes that means reorganization. Sometimes that means we do have to lose headcount, along with our peers in the organization who are going through the same struggles and the same challenges. So I think there are times when you have to make tough decisions, but I think that I would not go there first. That would be not be my first course of action. I think you constantly have to look at how you deliver services and find the most effective and efficient ways to do that, while trying at all times to keep your people intact. But there are times when it's unavoidable, and I think the way you handle that also speaks to your leadership style as well.
Yeah, I think we need to deal with the reality that everybody is shedding jobs, every division. The challenge that IT has is we're not a profit center. We're a cost center. So really where good leadership comes in is going to senior management, going to your peers, and showing how you can be a partner in part of this solution. And part of that, whether you call it restructuring, reorganization, or looking at what our workflow processes are, if you can come up with those solutions, you can have a big impact on what your budget is. The perfect example I like to use is, in our state, we have a lot of IT services that are kind of dispersed among all the agencies. So all the agencies, some of them have very large IT departments, and you have a lot of redundancies. And what we try and come through is get everyone together and say, is this the best way for us to deliver our services? Are there opportunities for consolidation and come up with a more efficient, cost-effective solution? And yeah, that may very well lead to some people, losing their jobs as you're bringing them in. But what that does is it shows other leaders that, hey, look, you're willing to look at how you do things and make the right choices, going forward that's going to help the state over the long haul, not just the immediate keep a person in their job. Because I think the worst thing you can do, and a little different for me because I'm a government entity, so technically, or I should say in reality, I actually work for the citizens of Arizona. So my job is not to become a jobs program, but to deliver services in the most cost-effective and best possible way to the citizens of Arizona. And so that's why I need to look at how is it that we have things organized and structured and, come up with a very creative and, effective way of doing that going forward.
So, Chad, in your case, it definitely kind of makes sense in terms of how this is truly a cost center, and you have to make it as least costly as possible and most efficient. Now, in the business world, and I'm sure you've worked in the business world as well, and Larry, for you too, when we are working out there, we are also looking at the IT leadership to bring some top-line growth and top-line revenue growth, to be exact, and not just look at bottom-line savings. Because the mantra of just bottom-line savings is basically undermining what value IT totally can bring and what an IT leader can do sitting side by side with the business leaders. And that could change the way we look at IT, the way other people look at IT, and when the tough times come, we are not the first one to get axed.
I agree with that. I think we focus on both. We focus on top-line revenue opportunities, and that's both extending existing revenue streams as well as creating new revenue streams through the use of effective technology and solutions. And we definitely are very focused on that and have brought a number of new revenue opportunities to bear for the association over the last few years. But you also have to look at efficiencies and how you can deliver the greatest value at the lowest price point. So to Chad's point, I think one of our responsibilities is to make sure that we're always running an efficient organization that's delivering value at the right price point. But I think those things are not mutually exclusive. I think you need to constantly be focused on both of those objectives.
And the more you reduce costs, the more your profit margin goes up. So there is a thing. And you're right. I did actually just leave a few months ago from a very large bank, so I was in the private sector. And while I wasn't on the revenue side or the profit side, I think there are, we've started implementing new technologies, whether it's online processing payments, kiosks at the Department of Motor Vehicles. We are looking at more easier ways for, our citizens to interact with the state, or as part of the bank for them to conduct business with the bank over the internet or what have you. I think one of the things, one of the things we always look at is kind of those workflow processes. And if you're an organization and you have, let's say, in one case we had 50 analysts doing a specific job. It was a required job, but it was all manual, Excel spreadsheets. There were some access databases out there. It was a pretty ugly process, but it was a process that had developed over a course of 20 years. And what IT did is come in and look at it step by step, and try and map out, using technology, what's the more cost-effective way we could do this? And, because of the environment we were in, we just have to let people go. I mean, it's sad. You hate to do it, but we have to. But what we were able to do with IT is we automated a lot of this, so we weren't letting people whose jobs were critical to the organization. I mean, we were able to save money. It's the old saying, we were able to do more with less by creating these automation routines, around that workflow process. We actually reduced headcount by half to about 25 people who were once doing 50. And at the end of the day, as a private company, you need to ask yourself, what is your goal? It's to provide a better product or a better service at a lower cost. And in effect, we were doing that.
Now, when we are looking at sensitivity as such an important aspect, and some people are not born with it, can they fake it?
Well, I think faking it is a mistake. You should never fake anything. I think you can develop the skills. I mean, if you genuinely want to improve in any area, you can work to develop improve skills. I mean, you may never be an A player at it, but you certainly can get better than you are. But faking it, I think, is a mistake because people will see right through that, and that being disingenuous is one of the worst things you can do because the thing that's most important to great leadership is integrity, and if people sense that you're not credible and you don't have integrity, that'll undermine anything else you're trying to accomplish as a leader.
No, the reason I bring that up is because some people are wired in a certain way. I mean, no matter what you say, yes, they can develop a technical skill and some maybe management skills, but how does somebody develop an emotional, emotional side where you suddenly become more compassionate?
Well, I think there are different ways that people exhibit compassion or different ways that people can show their emotional side or their caring side. So not everyone has to be touchy-feely, but that doesn't, so you could adapt your style to a certain degree, but you have to be who you are, but that doesn't mean you can't be emotionally available being who you are. It just means that might look differently for me than it looks for you, Sanjo, or it looks for Chad.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key is being true to yourself. I mean, you have certain strengths. Ask any parent who has two kids. They're always very different kids, even in the same household, the same parents and brought up the same way. It's the same thing. I mean, you look at an athlete. You don't have athletes who become accountants. Athletes choose a career path that's right for them. So if you're going to go into leadership, you have to assume that you do have a certain level of communication skills. You do have a certain level of being able to work and motivate with people. But as far as training yourself, you can always train yourself to do something. I mean, you can always train no matter how much you like it or dislike it, if the motivation is there to learn, you can do it. And I think, really it comes down to training yourself to listen to people and being flexible in your work schedule and how you allocate tasks and projects to your staff and how you communicate your expectations and your standards to your staff. So, but again, I think faking it is the wrong way to do it. I think training yourself to act and behave a certain way, I think the key to success and whenever you want to reach that next level in anything you do is you have to be willing to learn something new. And so when you come out of college, you've got your computer science degree, you're learning programming. Your job is to be the best programmer out there. When you get into management, your job shifts from those technical skills to those human skills, and now you have to learn those human skills and learn how to interact with people. So you're always learning. I mean, that's the only way you can get to the next level is just to continue to improve your skills. But it always comes down to kind of focusing on your strengths.
Let's take a quick break, listeners, and we'll be right back after these messages and look at this whole changing of our style or learning a new way of doing things. Now, the challenge here is in many cases the earlier in our lives when we adopt some new styles, we are able to go about changing ourselves and become better or worse based on what we choose to do. But then as an IT leader, which is a typical age group, which is more, I would say, Gen X, 35 to 45, that's the time when our abilities to change our core characteristics reduces significantly because people have fixated ideas, lots of past experience which prevent them from changing themselves. So can a CIO or an IT leader become more sensitive or train themselves to be sensitive using any outside help or some other techniques that might be out there? Let's explore. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Whether the market's up or down, or if you're looking to improve your portfolio, our experts are ready to talk to you. Call now toll free 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Voice America Business Network.
Looking for flexible ways to scale your IT efforts? Then visit www.avol.com today. Avol helps companies find the global IT talent they need to align their IT and business objectives. Whether it's hiring top IT leadership talent or building a reliable technology team, Avol delivers. To find out how Avol can help your company, visit www.avol.com or call 1-800-947-2832. Avol, delivering global IT talent. That's www.avol, A-V-V-A-L, avol.com. Visit today.
Let's sing that new song. My music track from my modem jack plays MP3s, and I download fast. I read the bits on the microchips, and I burn all my favorite hits.
By the 6th grade, many girls lose interest in technology, but parents can help keep them updated. Go to girlsgotech.org.
A public service announcement brought to you by Girl Scouts of USA and Ad Council.
Self-leadership is more important than corporate leadership. In the hustle and bustle world we live in, we need to be reminded that in all failures and successes, we are the common denominators. Each week, let Daniel Gutierrez help bring you the tools you need to manage self-leadership, resulting in self-success. Make your mark in your industry. Make sure you listen to Right Here, Right Now, every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Business Channel.
When it comes to business, you'll find the experts here. Voice America Business Network.
You are listening to CIO Talk Radio. To learn more about the show, please visit www.ciotalkradio.com. If you have a question or comment, call toll-free 1-866-472-5790. Now back to the show. Here's Sanjo Gal.
Welcome back. So we were talking about having someone develop the sensitivity or train themselves to become a little more sensitive. That's an area that, would really help them become better leaders. Given the challenge that we are in that age group where we are almost hardwired in the way we think, the way we process information, the way we emote, how easy is that going to be for them, for people especially who are not bestowed by God Almighty with this sensitive side of things? Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's easy at all, and that's the hard part. I mean, as you get older, you become more set in your ways and more reluctant to learn new things because it takes energy and it takes effort, and that sort of decreases with age. But that's the difficulty with technology. I mean, that's why we have this impression of IT. Whether you watch the TV commercials or the shows, it's always young people, right? I mean, you rarely see a fellow in his 60s or her 60s. Portrayed positively on TV. I mean, think of the Mac commercial versus, that has the Mac who's this kind of young 20-something kid versus the IBM PC or the Windows PC who's this older suit and tie guy. I mean, it's just that impression. But, if it's in the industry, especially in the technology industry, you just have to be open to new ideas and new practices, especially in technology, because our charge is to provide solutions to a process, a business process. And as new technologies come out, you have to be open to them. I mean, if someone was still wedded to COBOL, they probably wouldn't be too successful in today's environment. So you need to learn what are the new technologies on the horizon. You don't necessarily need to be an expert in them, but you need to be aware of them, how to put them into context, and how to find the right people that can make them succeed.
I would suggest, I agree with Chad, I would suggest that while it's not easy to continue to change and evolve the older you get, it's critical to your success as a professional and as a person. I mean, you need to constantly be open to new input, to understanding new approaches, and you constantly have to be learning. If you're not learning, either you're growing or you're dying. So while it may be harder as you get older, it's critical to your success and to your evolution that you continue to really focus the energy required to grow as a professional.
Now, would you think a person can, for the most part, handle this themselves, or they could use some outside help? And if yes, then what type?
Well, I certainly think that everyone could use help. I think, no one's going to be more interested in your own personal development than you are, so you have to really put a lot of personal energy into it. But certainly there are people who can work with you, whether it's a mentor either inside your organization or outside your organization, whether it's a professional coach that you've worked with in the past, whether it's a friend who you respect that has a certain skill set that you aspire to having. So I certainly think you should reach out to support, but I also think that you have to be willing to roll up your sleeves and put a lot of personal energy and effort into it yourself.
Now, we are expected to be sensitive. We are expected to be those rock stars who can deliver everything. What should we expect from the folks who are also, connected to us, like executive management, like business unit leaders? Do you expect sensitivity from them?
I think every human being is different. I think, to try to generalize what to expect from people, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. I think there are people certainly who I've worked for in executive management that were very sensitive, very in tune with the feelings and very caring people. And I've worked for jerks too. I mean, any cross-section of human beings, you're going to get a sample of everything. So I don't think there's one answer to that question. I think you have to be receptive to adapting to whatever the person's style is to try to work effectively with the different personalities you have to deal with.
Yeah, I think it's very important to know what your managers and the senior management style is. I mean, I think it goes without saying, the higher up the food chain you go, the more pressure it becomes. But I think it is incumbent on us we can be a strong partner with senior management. That technology, can be part of the business and needs to be brought into that decision-making process. But, coming back to our side, the way we get our senior management to start including us in those business decisions is that we need to show them that, technology, that we can provide solutions to them. So we need to be proactive, meaning that we need to learn what their business needs are and how we align technology to come up with solutions for those business needs.
Now, what would be your message for these people who are step-up candidates, who are like mid-management level, just about to embark on this beautiful journey of being an IT leader?
I would say when dealing with senior management, know what their motivations are and what their goals are, and then craft how you organize your department, what your goals are for your department needs to align with those. And you need to sell it constantly, sell it to your management. Because the more they see you partnering with them, the more they see you coming up with ideas for how you can help them succeed, the more you're going to be brought into that inner circle. The first couple of times, and to give you an example, in state government where we're going through the budget process, I had a couple of ideas for saving money. Didn't amount to a lot, but the more and more I share my ideas with them, the more I find myself being brought into meetings that typically a technology person, you wouldn't think of them being part of those meetings, because now they see someone who's very active, in what their goals are, what their needs are, and coming up with technology solutions. And sometimes technology is kind of tangential to the idea I'm trying to sell them on.
I would suggest a couple of things. First of all, that you have to really care about the people you're leading, and that's got to be genuine. So people have to know that you care about them before they're going to give you the 100% effort. The second thing is that you don't lead people, you lead persons. Every individual has different skills, different objectives, different motivations, and you have to understand on an individual basis what makes that person tick and work with that person in a way that resonates with him or her so that you'll get the best out of that individual.
On behalf of the show and our listeners, I'd really like to thank you, Larry and Chad, for sharing your thoughts about how an IT leader could leverage sensitivity and, of course, their other traits to get us through these tough times and also, in the long run, become the successful leader that they always wanted to be.
Well, thank you for having us.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you again. Now, frankly, ID leadership is in a rather challenging spot today. They have to deliver, they have to keep the crew motivated while managing expectation of the executive management, the business unit leaders, and any other stakeholders that are surrounding them. To some, demonstration of the sensitivity is weakness. For others, the combination of strength and sensitivity is equal to success. So can you truly become the Pied Piper for the rest of the IT crew and even the business crew and lead everyone towards success without sensitivity and compassion? What are your thoughts? Please send us your thoughts to views@ciotalkradio.com. That is views@ciotalkradio.com. Thank you again for listening to CIO Talk Radio. This is Sanjog Aul, your talk show host. Till next week, take care and God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to CIO Talk Radio. To learn more about the show, please visit www.ciotalkradio.com. Join Sanjog Aul next Wednesday at 9 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Pacific for another hour of CIO Talk Radio.
Thanks again for listening to the preceding program, brought to you on the Voice America Business Channel. For more information about our network and to check out additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericabusiness.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the preceding program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.